Hello, my name is Ivan Sokolov. I'm a national coach of Iran. And what I would like to do, I would like to show you a game from just finished chess Olympiad in Baku in a match between Iran and England. It was played in the 9th round of the Olympiad, so actually quite important round. It was towards the end, and this is a match where Iran made a very good result, playing 2-2 against England, and England is one of the best teams in the world, as we know. This video will focus on the victory of Iran in that match, on an important game which happened on a third board between Shahin playing with white and famous English grandmaster McShane playing with black. I would start with the opening moves. We are going to have a Slav defense. The Slav defense is a favorite opening of McShane, and this is something which Shahin prepared, and his preparation was actually very good. I was having my own ideas about what was he supposed to play, but then he came and he showed me his preparation before the game, and I thought actually what he wanted to do was very clever. And he will indeed, on the board, as we are going to see, he will indeed get his opening preparation. So G3 is not really that much played move here. For example, move like knight c3 with possible idea to play g3 or e3 later on is much more played. Also, a move like e3 here is much more played. g3 is not that often played. The reason for this is that after bishop f5, it is considered somehow that black has solved the problem of his light square bishop. As we are going to see, this is actually quite relative, because white is now going to chase this bishop, and this was part of a white plan. Knight c3, just to make sure that the bishop cannot go to square e4, or the bishop cannot take this knight. e6, knight h4, chasing this bishop. In this particular position, almost all logical white moves have been tried. In this particular game, McShane is playing move bishop g4, which is not that often played, and he probably thought to be surprising white. Strange enough, actually, Shahin anticipated this answer bishop g4, and his main opening preparation was actually directed against this line, and it is going to bring a very favorable result, as white is going to have a novelty in this game. f3, chasing this bishop. First playing move queen b3, queen b6, and c5. Well, right now black is facing sort of difficult dilemma, because his one possibility is to take on b3, which could be a logical move. However, these endings are very well known to be a little bit better for white, and to be long-term a little bit better position, because white is having a space advantage. Judging this position, we should not, let's say, make a mistake and kind of think that black is okay because white is having those double pawns, b2 and c3. Yes, white has those double pawns, but white also has, due to those double pawns, open b file, open a file. White is also threatening positional threat b4, b5 to push this pawn. And white is likely going also to collect black light square bishop. So white is actually here having a long-term positional advantage. McShane didn't like it. He preferred to keep queens on the board, and he played move queen c7. Queen c7, logical move in itself. It's having this disadvantage that it gives white a little bit more extra time. So bishop f4, tempi move, queen c7. As we see, white is having more space. Here came a novelty by Shahin, because move bishop h3 has been played in this position in a strong game between Ryazantsev and Felgar in a World Cup in Tromsø, and black actually won this game. White move, this is a novelty, and this is what Shahin prepared before the game, and when he showed me this, I was actually quite impressed, and I thought this was a good idea to proceed, is that after bishop g6, he is here having move e4. So his approach is completely different than, let's say, bishop h3 approach, because with bishop h3, You are aiming to take advantage of h3, c8 diagonal, keeping this queen under a pin. With approach of white here of Shahin g4, bishop g6, e4, you are having totally different approach. You are actually trying to take, first of all, as much space as you can. Here, of course, first question which somebody may ask is this a free pawn on e4? Can black simply take? Well, this is not exactly a free pawn, because after, let's say, knight takes g6, takes, knight e4, white is getting advantage here, because if black does not collect knight on e4, white is going to jump on d6. And after bishop d6, bishop takes d6. This bishop from f4 coming to d6 will be a very powerful piece. So knight e4 is kind of a normal reaction. Knight e7, let's say castle queenside. Well, black is simply in such a position having a problem, because if he castles quickly to kingside, move h4, h5 is going to transpire, and white is to get serious attack. What is main counterplay for black? One would say this is a move like b6. You want to do something about this potentially open king on c1. However, this is not working because of move bishop c4. A threat can be bishop takes e6, actually quite unpleasant threat. So let's say bishop e7. To avoid that, after bishop e6, f e6, queen e6, queen takes with check. Just to demonstrate this, let's say this would be a terrible mistake, because after bishop e6, f e6, queen e6 check, bishop e7, bishop d6, well, white is going to either get his bishop back, or he's simply going to deliver mate. Something terrible will happen to black. Like, for example, this is one way this can go. Let's say queen d8, check, king goes, let's say one more check, probably there are some other moves. Knight goes, let's see, even rook d6, takes, and queen takes, check, and black is going to lose some more material and get a hopeless position. So it is impossible to allow bishop takes e6 for black if even queen will retake with check. So bishop e7 is the only move. And after bishop d6, let's say black is facing a rather difficult situation, because if taking, now bishop e6 is working again. And now king is in a very unfortunate position, because file is opening for white rook, and black is now forced to give his extra piece back. Queen c3, king e7, e5. So white regains his material, and he's simply going to be a pawn up. This was more or less the end of homework of Shahin and me before this game. So actually, of course, this was the first thing to check. What happens if black would have taken this pawn? Because this is always which you need to consider. If you are sacrificing something, this is what if your opponent is bold enough to take it. McShane played move bishop e7, which is normal developing move. Now happens e5. Now not an easy call, because knight h5 is a tempy move, but it places knight on the edge of the board. Nobody wants that. So finally, black played move knight fd7. White took cd5. Well, now came actually a very important moment. Black took ed5. And this is going to cause some irreparable pins. C takes d5 was necessary move, and move actually we expected. And after knight b5, let's say castle kingside, white is better. He can, for example, jump on d6. You cannot try to be clever and somehow take everything, because if you want to take everything, well, being greedy may end up being sorry. After move, let's say like bishop g5, hitting a bishop, hitting a knight, and after bishop g5, queen takes c7, you simply seem to lose a pawn. But after knight d6, bishop d6, bishop d6, with his space advantage, at the bishop pair, white is having a better position. But this was for a black better choice than what is to transpire in the game. Black took cd5, And now happened bishop h3. Have a look at those two beautiful bishops, h3 and f4, simply making everlasting pins, completely paralyzing black position. This queen and the knight are now horribly developed pieces. Castles. Castles, and this is a moment where preparation of Shahin has finished. Well, we have simply judged that white is having very large advantage in such a kind of position. And this is correct judgment, and computers are also supporting this judgment. Black problem is not that white threatens something tremendous at this moment. No, there is no deadly threat. But simply black is extremely passive. Simply think of this. How is this knight going to unpin from this queen? Queen is bound to defend the pawn. And white is also going to collect e-file. And at some moment, white pawns may also roll. For example, if f-pawn comes to f5, it may cost a piece. So simply black is extremely, extremely passive. Rook d8, queen d1. Queen d1 is positional move. Why? Because white anticipates that at some moment black may decide to play move b6. And he wants to be ready to simply answer such a kind of move with the move b4. So this is the aim of move queen d1. It is not necessary, but it is quite a good precautious positional move. Knight a6, stopping actually b4 pawn push. And here white makes another positional move with aim of killing black counterplay. He plays move rook c1. So if move b6 ever comes, this rook on c1 will take an aim on a pinned queen on c8. Rook e8, bishop d2, very clever move. Pay attention that white is hesitating to play move knight h4 g6, taking a bishop. Why? Because white would like to have a threat f4, f5, trapping this bishop. And bishop d2 is aimed in this direction. Queen e8. Black has finally managed to unpin knight on d8, but at what cost? At the cost of plenty of time. f4, bishop d3, because at this moment black has to start calculating moves like f5, simply winning a piece. f5 and f takes g6 with the threat to take on g7 with further material gains. So bishop d3, rook e1, rook f3 was also a move. Knight c7, black simply wants to make sure that his bishop is having a retreat to a6. Queen g4, quite direct move. Knight f8, and now white plays logical and aggressive, f5, taking more space and threatening a deadly move, f6, winning a piece. f6 more or less forced, g6. Difficult again choice for black. To let white open a g-file in such a position, nobody wants that. To play move like h6 is also not really what you want, because the problem is that next to the fact that black remains incredibly passive, because look at those knights, they cannot move anywhere, white is having a long-term simple threat to play move, let's say, queen h5, and to sacrifice at some stage bishop on h6 and to create mating attacks. So white is simply having a long-term pressure actually for nothing. Zero counterplay. So black plays b6, trying to be fast, creating his counterplay. Rook e6, bishop a6, opening g-file, correctly so, knight takes. And here we have interesting moment. White has played here move b4. We have to pay attention that it was clear at this moment that that white is having very large advantage, and b, that this would be actually a very important game for outcome of the match. Being aware of this, white is trying to actually play game safe, try to actually win game positionally, trying not to be forced to calculate some long and complicated lines. And therefore, white played here move b4 to try to support his actually pawn center and to keep black in the box without a counterplay. White had, however, quite a nice possibility, not easy to see in over the board play, and this was to play in this position move rook g3. aiming for a direct mating attack. Knight g5, knight g6, pawn takes, queen h5, threatening check on h8, take. In the comfort of your living room, and without being pressured by the time and by the match result, it is perhaps not so difficult to understand that here white is having mating attack. In a practical game, white would need to calculate already 3 moves ahead. He would need to sacrifice 2 pawns, c5 and d4, and now manage to work out mating attack until the end, which is, I think, not easy, though white does have a mating attack. Rook g5 is a good start of this. Takes, check, check. Now king is actually, we call this a king chase, because king is now chased to the center. King f6, queen h5, a brilliant move, removing queen from a tempo and chasing king further in the center. King e5, very well. King is in the middle of a board, but white has sacrificed a full rook and a couple of pawns. If you do not mate this king is going to escape. And if king escapes, well, then white is going to lose a game, and Iranian team will lose a match. I'm curious, think of this position a little bit. Can you see a forced mate for white? Forced mate for white is very, very beautiful. This is move bishop f4. What is aim of this move? White is either going to force black king further into white territory to make mate possible, or force black to take with a pawn from g5 to f4 and to open the 5th rank for inclusion of h5 queen into the attack. Okay, if king takes bishop, task is relatively easy. Rook e1, cutting a king escape route, and next move is queen g4 mate. But what happens if pawn takes? Well, now task is becoming more complicated, because one more piece is sacrificed. Now white is, well, as far as I could see, rook and the piece down, and king is still very much alive. Now comes beautiful move, f6. Opening further attack to the king. Impossible to take on f6 because of mate in 1. So actually, the only move is king d6. Now the question is, viewers, can you see a mate in 2? Because if you do not find mate in 2, it is still possible to lose this game. Mate in 2 comes by the nice mating net. Knight e4 check, takes queen c5 mate. This could have been a genius finish of this beautiful game. But again, in the comfort of a room, and with the help and assistance of a computer, is much easier to work out those lines than in the heat of the battle in the Olympic playing hall. So with the desire to keep his long-term pressure and not to risk the result, white played move b4. Black took, and black is here playing move rook b8, trying to activate a rook. Knight g6, rook b2, aiming for only counterplay. Well, right now, rook c e1 was probably actually a winning move, because after bishop f8, rook takes, there is here quite a good move, bishop h6. The aim of this move is to first destroy one attacker with knight f8, and then the second, let's say that black plays some move. Well, then this would be winning. Destroying one defender, destroying second defender, and delivering the mate. So black cannot afford this luxury. He is probably forced to play move queen d7, best move under circumstances. Bishop f4 back, bishop c4, queen h5, queen f7, because knight takes f8 to win a piece is a threat, e8 is hanging. And now comes a beautiful move. What is the strong piece of white not participating in attack? Is the g3 bishop. After bishop g4 comes move knight takes f8 and takes this knight. And Black is here to lose a piece and soon a game. Both players, however, had here, well, McShane was in a worse shape. He had maybe 30 seconds, but Shahin did not have much time. He had maybe 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. And with this pressure on the clock, again, it is kind of a natural human decision to try to avoid complicated lines. So White has chosen for a positional way to try to increase his advantage. Also not a strange choice because contrary to other Iranian players, like for example Parham, who was playing on board too in the Olympiad, Shahin is very much positional player. So he was also trying to use here positional means to increase his advantage. So he took, and now he's trying to take control of open file, gambling that this rook, or judging that this rook on b2 is just a lone attacker, not causing any damage. Probably correct judgment. Queen f7, bishop f4. Also, bishop on a6 may look like an active piece. But what is this piece doing? This piece is hitting on a number of empty squares, doing nothing else. Rook b7, trying to defend the bishop because there are here threats. I mean, there are some threats like, for example, if you give me a move, I will play move queen g6. Threatening to take on f7 and bishop c7, and threatening bishop c7 and rook e8 mate. So rook b7, queen g3, knight b5, and now comes nice move, bishop f1. I was watching this game live. This move came actually as a complete shock to McShane because he thought here that he was actually finally getting some sort of counterplay, because what is black aim? Black aim is to try to trade as many pieces as possible. The more pieces traded, at some moment the power of attack would evaporate. Such a move is preventing any kind of trade, because if knight takes c3, the consequence of losing bishop pair will be devastating, because rook is hit, and via c8 this bishop is going to come to e6 with a deadly end. So bishop f1, knight c7 back, trying to trade some pieces off. Bishop takes, bishop f1 only move, bishop d6. Now we have here position of opposite colors bishops, but look at the striking difference in a power between those two bishops. Bishop on d6 is actually controlling what would turn out to be a vital square f8 to deliver mate, and controlling a vital square b8, not allowing this rook to come back to cover his 8th rank. On the other hand, this bishop on f1 is hanging, so actually black is forced to move it and lose a tempi, and also not hitting any meaningful square. Well, now comes important move which finishes the game, because white is having strong pieces, but as we know, initiative and attack are per definition always of a temporary nature. If you do not use the moment will pass. So what is the efficient way here for white to use the moment? Well, this is move queen g6. Queen g6 is taking a maximum use of the strong bishop and rook, because threat is rook e8. And powerful bishop is not allowing rook to get back to b8 to control the back rank, and also after move knight f8, rook e8 is hitting on f8, simply delivering a mate on f8. In this powerful position, in this hopeless position, running on his last seconds, McShane played move rook e7, and after bishop e7 he is resigning. And this was fantastic win by Shahin against one of the best European players, one of the European highest rated players. And this win has brought, I would say up to now, historic result for Iranian team of 2-2 versus powerful England, and also brought Shahin Grandmaster norm. And I hope that you have enjoyed in this game. Thank you very much.